This podcast is for SEO professionals, and each week, with the help of our wonderful guests, we discuss the important stuff that actually affects our careers and progression, but sadly often doesn't get talked about. You know, the invaluable soft and interpersonal skills that are often taken for granted, such as the skills we need for listening, time management, communication, and more. We also talk about the big issues that affect us and our careers, such as burnout, imposter syndrome, self-belief, saying no, plus other big issues and obstacles. With this podcast, we want to share knowledge on topics that unlock our listeners' true potential and enhance not only their careers, but all parts of their lives. So, are you ready to prioritize your own personal growth and career development? Then let's crack on with this week's episode. Hello, and a very warm welcome to the SEO Mindset podcast with myself, Sarah McDowell, and the ever so fabulous Tazmin Suleman, with episodes going out every single Thursday. This week, I have the wonderful Jordan Koene on the podcast to talk about how and why you should develop your skills with AI. It is a really interesting conversation where we cover so much, including why we fear AI and LLMs in the SEO industry, how and why we should change that mindset, why we should embrace it instead, and practical ways you can start to develop your skills. Who is Jordan? Jordan is the CEO and co-founder of Previsible, a search and discovery consulting firm. He drives the company's strategy, helping businesses achieve transformative growth by scaling organic search, LLM refinement through meaningful innovation. Previously, Jordan was CEO of Search Metrics, a leading search and content intelligence platform. He led its expansion into a market-leading SaaS solution, driving US growth and developing data-driven strategies to scale content and search traffic for Fortune 100 companies and agencies. Before Search Metrics, Jordan was the head of SEO at eBay and held key roles at various tech startups. He is also an active investor and advisor to technology-driven companies. Now, before we crack on with the episode, just a reminder about how you can support me and Tazmin. If you enjoy what we do, why not give us a one-off donation? We are set up on Buy Me a Coffee, which allows you to buy us a virtual coffee. And we really urge you to subscribe and follow this podcast wherever you listen to us. And if you're feeling extra generous, why not give us a 5-star review? There'll be links to both Buy Me a Coffee and how you can follow and subscribe in the show notes. Right, without further ado, let's crack on with this week's episode. Hello, and a very warm welcome to Jordan.
Hey there, Sarah. Looking forward to diving into our conversation today.
Yes, me too. I mean, it is a very topical conversation. So we are going to be talking about AI, and the angle that we'll be attacking AI today is about embracing AI, overcoming the fears that people have with AI, and the different skills and how you can use AI to sort of hone and develop your skills. I'm very excited to talk about that, especially because when it comes to AI, people seem to be very split who I talk to. I talk to some people and they're fully embracing AI. They love it. They have it as part of their process. Or you talk to other people and they're not so warm towards AI. Would you have the same sort of experience in that? Like it being a bit like Marmite, people love it or hate it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a love and hate, component to where AI is right now. Not just in the SEO market, but like as a whole. I mean, clearly it's been adopted by a very advanced part of our society, right? But as AI becomes more integrated across disciplines and experiences, we're gonna see a lot of a change in terms of its, I think, acceptance culturally. Let's maybe call it that. I've seen everything from projects on construction sites where they're using AI to identify potential risks or problems. Healthcare facilities and big public or buildings utilizing AI now to make things more efficient or more streamlined. And so the applications are basically endless in terms of how they help humanity. The acknowledgement of it still is, I think, we're still in the early days, right?
Yeah, and that's such a great way to explain it. And I suppose whenever there is change or whenever there is something new, there is this period of acceptance, like you say. People have to adopt that new way, that new process, that new tool, that new software. But I suppose where I want to start the conversation is talking about fears around AI in the SEO industry, because you've just sort of given some loads of examples of AI in other use cases. But why do you think people fear AI specifically in the SEO industry?
I think within the SEO industry, there's a couple of components. I think the first one is that we are reluctant to let go of the tactics that we're so accustomed to using, right? We're very
Mhm.
comfortable with what's worked in the past. We're very comfortable with the efforts that are familiar to us. And I think that's the number one primary reason. This worked for me for the last 10 years. I'm going to keep doing it. I publish blog posts, I get traffic. I am so happy with that. But today the world is changing very fast in terms of what is a good piece of content, what has utility, and we're just unwilling to adapt because that used to work, right? And I think that's the first one is letting go of tactics of the past. The second one, and probably the more unknown, is that discovery is just changing, right? Consumers are going to discover information in radically different ways. I keep using the analogy of recipe searches. I don't know any human being that would ever do a recipe search in Google again. It would be ludicrous. You get, anytime you click on a recipe placement or ad or organic listing, you get tons of ads. You get a really long form piece of content. You can't decipher between grandpa's story and where the instructions to the recipe begins. It's a very frustrating experience, especially when you're sitting inside of a grocery store trying to find the ingredients. So just use ChatGPT. I mean, use any LLM, and they will just give you a list of things to buy, and it is far easier to deal with a recipe that way than any Google search. Now, a lot of folks out there might be questioning that and saying, "Well, what about the story and all the background and stuff?" Well, there's a lot to be said about that, and there's a lot of utility behind that, but it's not in that moment of I need a list of ingredients and I need steps or instructions to follow through on my recipe. So I think that the second point is really that consumers' discovery is shifting. Where they're going to consume content, knowledge, and information is moving beyond a traditional 10 blue links and some ads in a search result page. And then the third component is we're simply unwilling to explore in SEO how AI is going to change the narrative around data. And I think this is the piece where it's really hard for us to understand the fact that the way we used to measure SEO is foundationally going to change moving forward. And it's not just because of where consumers are going, like point two, but it's more importantly about how we're going to measure our craft. It's no longer about rankings. It's no longer even about traffic. And that's a hard reality for all of us to process.
You've said a really key point there in discovery. So how people search is changing, and I definitely, as I've got more familiar and I start to use AI and LLMs, it's easier said, quite hard to say, isn't it? But as I'm starting to get more familiar with using AI, I I feel like I turn to it more. So, for example, when you're talking about ingredients, because yeah, it's so funny. Every time you've searched for an ingredient or a recipe, you have to do a lot of scrolling, don't you,
Yeah.
before you get the actual ingredients that you need and the steps for the recipe, and that's because of like how that content has been ranked or given the sort of context behind and all of that lovely stuff, which some people would love. But in that moment of where you're pressed for time, you need to buy ingredients, or you've only got a small window where you need to cook this item or this recipe, you're not going to be reading the whole story, are you? You want the
Yeah.
information quick. And I've also seen posts on social media about people embracing AI more. So, for example, someone I follow shared experience of how they used AI to help them plan their trip. So they were going away on holiday somewhere. They were going to Rome or Italy or France, can't remember where. But rather than sort of going to Google, reading loads of reviews, going on blogs, things like that. Obviously, if you enjoy that as a process, go for it. But they were like,
Right.
it was much easier when I went to AI and got them to recommend me the top 10 things for people to do. So there is definitely a shift in user behavior and how people sort of interact and get information and get data. So of course we should be embracing AI, shouldn't we? And like, what are the benefits rather than being more aligned with customer behavior and making sure that you're aligned with that? What are the benefits come with embracing AI?
Well, I think there's a ton of benefits, right? The benefits are still, in my opinion, somewhat unknown. There are some that are very clear. I mean, there's a huge efficiency gain, right? So people are more efficient and more effective when you have and use AI, right? And so that's a very clear benefit, and I don't think anyone would really dispute that. And I think that's predominantly where a lot of these AI companies have kind of spawned from, is like, how do we make certain processes or certain ways of working super efficient? I'll give you an example, right? If you do any type of coding, Claude is probably by far and away a better, and there are others too now that have even trained off of Claude, but by and away far better than any other LLM in helping you write code. It will get to a cleaner, faster, more utility-based piece of code. And so these languages are even becoming specialized themselves, is my point. And that makes us even more efficient, right? Because specialization is the art of being very, very good at something, right? And that is happening with these language models because they're training off of our own knowledge, right? They're not giving us anything new, but they are training off of our own capabilities as humanity. That's a pretty broad stroke of statement, but that is ultimately, I think, one of the most critical benefits that we have is efficiency. We are more efficient. The second one, and probably the lesser known one, is that it is going to create an opportunity for a whole new set of skills. So there's going to be a whole new set of capabilities that the quote unquote maybe knowledge worker, or even the more conventional worker, is going to have to craft and hone. And those skills are going to uniquely change the way we do work moving forward. That area, I think, is still largely unknown. It is still very much the uncharted part of this, but that is what everyone in our industry, not just SEO but other industries, should be focused on. Is what are the next level skills that that are going to benefit us in not just the utility of AI, but just the implementation of it even.
So actually what you're saying there is, if you do embrace and you start working on your skills, you actually become a lot more desirable in the sense of employment, because
Right.
not too far in the future, when you are applying for your next job role, or you want to take your next step up the career ladder, let's say, on your job description, in that skills that they're looking for, will be looking for like AI or knowledge of knowing how to use LLMs and things like that. So actually it makes you much more desirable in that sense of employability, if that's a word. I may have made that up.
100%. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And I think the skills go beyond the practicum of knowing what they are. That's where I think we are today, right? Is like, people are like, oh, I'm aware of being able to do this, right? Like I can do this with Llama. I built something with Llama and I customized it because it's open source. And that's knowledge of knowing, hey, that it's open source. B, you can build your own utility off of that model. And that's huge. That's great that you have that level of of depth and capability, but that's awareness, right? When I talk about skills, I talk about capabilities to say improve process, capabilities to say develop new customizations so that your company can become more efficient, right? It's the set of experiences, but then the skills that come with those experiences that's going to transfer the way we do work. It is someone who's taken all of the customer feedback and developed a whole new product for a company, but did it through the use of AI. That's now a skill. You know how to decipher good customer feedback from bad customer feedback and then build a tool or product out of it. Now you've become a customer feedback AI expert or customer feedback AI capable individual. You have a tool in your toolkit now that nobody else has. Those are the types of things that we're slowly starting to see, and we're going to continue to see an accelerated path on. And those are the types of skills that I want everyone who's listening to this to be encouraged behind, because they may seem scary or unknown, but that's the craft that people are going to start looking for in interviews.
Definitely. And so we are due to take a short break soon. And when we're back for part 2, I'd really love to pick your brains and you share with our audience some practical strategies and tips for developing your skills in AI. But before we do that, and before I take us to that break, I just want to ask what you think. So there might be people listening to this podcast episode and we've convinced them. So at the start, they were like, no way, not getting involved with AI, don't want to know about it. Whereas now they're starting to open up and they're starting to come to terms with it and be like, actually, no, Jordan has convinced me here. Maybe I need to take this more seriously, look into it. Is it just a case of changing your mindset, or is there other things that people can be doing to combat these fears or embracing AI a bit more?
I mean, one thing to keep in mind, and one component to just recognize, is that AI has been working behind the scenes for probably 20 years now, right? Whether we recognized it or not, right? It was happening for all types of products. Your email being filtered out more easily from spam and from what is a promotional email versus what is a transactional update email on something you purchased. AI has been training off of that and doing that for a very long time, and it's been part of your every email system. Well, for the most part, most email systems that are out there. So AI has been doing a lot of work for us for a very, very long time. I think coming to that realization might help squash a lot of fears about how to use it moving forward. The other thing that I think we all need to overcome is this belief that AI is going to take our jobs. AI isn't going to take our jobs. I mean, AI is a tool. I like to describe it as the transformation of going from a screwdriver to a power drill. They both do the
Nice.
same thing. They both do the same thing. One can do it much faster, but for whatever reason, you can go to any hardware store and still buy manual screwdrivers. There must be a reason. There is still a utility for a manual screwdriver, even though we've had for better than 80 years power drills. Why has the manual screwdriver not gone extinct? Right? Why is it not dead? Well, there's a lot of practical use in a manual screwdriver that you need all the time, because a power drill simply can't fit all of those needs. And so I see AI as a very similar tool in not just a SEO toolkit, but in humanities toolkit, where it will be yielded by us as humans. It will not replace us all, but we will need to define where it sits in that arc of the manual screwdriver versus the power drill, and when and where its application is best used for us as humans.
That is such a good way of looking at it, because, yeah, I can just with your example of the manual screwdriver and a power tool, there's other applications where, as we've got more sophisticated or things have come on or we've developed certain areas, there's still going to be a use case for the more manual or the older tools or the older ways that we used to do stuff. Some people are just set in their ways as well. But I suppose another thing that's come to mind as well is it's much better trying to embrace something rather than burying your head in the sand and hoping that you can just ignore it. Because if you do that, then of course, that's just not going to work well for you, because you can't stop change. You can't stop progress just because you don't like a certain thing. Just because you're not so bought into AI doesn't mean that everyone else is. And the more that you can be open-minded, the more that you can embrace, and the more that you can learn, research, and get familiar, that's much better, and that's going to serve you well, rather than burying your head in the sand hoping, if I just hide from it, I'll be okay in my safe little space.
Exactly. There's no question. That's exactly the frontier that we all need to break through.
This has been a very interesting and fruitful conversation already, Jordan, and we're only halfway. So I'm going to take us all for a short break now. But please join us back in part 2, because I'll be getting Jordan to share with us some actionable strategies that we can all be implementing to get better at AI and develop those skills. Does that sound good, Jordan?
Sounds great, Sarah. Looking forward to it.
The live podcast is back. SEO Mindset and Search with Canada is teaming up again to record a podcast in front of a live audience the night before Brighton SEO. And the topic is all about personal brand. We'll be discussing what this is, why it's important, and sharing strategies and our own experiences. Time for the important details. It's happening Wednesday, the 9th of April, 2025. From 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes. It's free to attend, and there'll be free pizza, snacks, and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, your work colleagues, anyone and everyone, anyone who you think would really enjoy this event. It was a sellout last time, so grab your ticket today to secure your spot. To do that, simply head on over to the show notes and you'll find a link. We really look forward to seeing you on the night. Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. Their services include photography, consultancy, and social media management. Clear Narrative Media is here to transport your visions to life. They are on a mission to help you to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance your business and professional growth overall. For more information, head over to their website at cnmedia.com or follow the link in the show notes. Ever feel like your SEO strategy could use a boost? At Previsible, they don't just optimize websites, they build strategies to scale organic growth. Their team of seasoned experts partners with businesses at every stage, from startups to enterprises, crafting solutions that actually move the needle. Whether it's hands-on SEO consulting, recruiting the perfect SEO team, or empowering your in-house talent, Previsible has you covered. Visit previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes to see how they're pushing SEO forward, one strategy at a time. Ready to rank higher? Then let's get started. Welcome back to part 2, everyone. Jordan, are you still with us?
I'm still here. Absolutely. Yep. I have not been taken over by AI bots. That's the good news.
How will I ever know? I mean, AI is getting better and better.
It is. It is. Now, the one thing AI can't do is get old, right? So that's the one thing it doesn't do well. So you can tell by my age that I'm still here. I'm still present. I'm still human.
Well, I just want to thank you for such a great start to this chat, because yeah, you already got me thinking differently about AI and LLMs, and yeah, it's very. I think this is a very good conversation because, like we said, you can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to harness this. You've got to embrace it, right? So I want to now ask you, Jordan, can you share with our audience some practical strategies that people can use to hone and develop their skills in AI?
The most logical ones are anytime we are doing a process that we repeat often, right? I think this is the foundation of the utility of AI. Because AI doesn't have the ability to process anything that's never existed before, it's really good at processing things that we do over and over and over again because then that exists, right? Now, that might require you to train AI to do that thing because you want it done in a certain way. Fill in a spreadsheet with certain data about a keywords, for example, or help you fulfill a content brief or a content recommendation, as an example, in our SEO and content marketing worlds. But repeatable behaviors are number one, right? Like I think that's the number one place for utility, and there's still a lot of good use of those things. Just because AI exists doesn't mean that a good content brief that has clear expectations on how to improve a particular page is any less valuable because it was processed by AI. It's equally
Mhm.
valuable because you've done the work of identifying a page that needs improvement, right? So that's the first one is repeatable processes. The second one is in the expansion of data or knowledge sets. If you have access to data, if you have access to certain sets of knowledge, you should utilize AI to expand its footprint. So, Sarah, I'll give you an example, right?
Mhm.
You have the SEO Mindset podcast, right? You can use AI. It is an asset. It is a knowledge asset that you own, that you have. You can use AI to do a lot of stuff with it. You could create a chatbot so that people can talk to the SEO Mindset podcast and ask it questions. You could develop better transcripts or summaries that all your audience can read or listen to. You could even change them into like a really weird tone. You could have it all talking like Fortnite characters if you really wanted to, right? Quite extreme. But anyway, that is all stuff that you can
I'd have
do.
to run that by Tazmin. I don't know how she'd
Yes.
feel about that one, but you never know. You never know.
You'd reach
So,
a whole new demographic, trust me. So, um, but but on a serious note, like this is the second most important way to hone the craft of using AI, which is if you own a data set, if you own a knowledge center, if you own something that is useful and important, how can you leverage it through AI? Right. That's the second part. Right. Fixing process is the first one, or improving or streamlining process. Second one is utility within data or knowledge sets. And then the third one is, and I think this is the hardest one and probably will continue to be the one that most people struggle with trying to break through on or struggle to really expand. And that is in the production of useful product, right? And you see this a lot in AI companies. You hear about all these AI companies that are coming out. Oh, I'm building an AI healthcare startup that helps you better test drugs on pharmaceutical, trials. Or I have this AI product that helps Uber drivers take more efficient routes and blah blah blah. Right? Uh, there's thousands of product applications. Now, product applications are super important because they are how we translate this technology into our daily lives. The same way 30 something years ago, there was a whole collection of innovative people, quote unquote innovative, who said, hey, you know what? We're going to take ticket sales and we're going to put them online. We're going to sell shoes and clothing and every product known to man online. We're going to start to, have people book flights and hotels online. Like that whole transformation of a product or a service that then went online 30, 40 years ago is the same transition that you're going to see in AI. The practicum, the product-based application of AI will become very real for all of us. And you're seeing it all over the place as companies try to sell you these products. But the reality is that we, as the consumer of it, will start to refine that and make it better. And in some cases, some of us will actually be in a position where we are building those products through AI.
Interesting. And something that is very evident to me when I'm using is AI is only as good as the prompts that you give it. So, something that I have been working on, and the more times that I use AI, the better I am with my prompts or what you're asking AI to do. Because, like you said, it doesn't know new information, it knows what already exists, right? So a good use case of AI, like you say, is any processes that you do on a regular basis that seems a bit monotonous, or you're doing the same output all the time. Look at ways that you can streamline that process with AI. But something as well is, I feel that the more that I use AI in different LLMs and ChatGPT, for example, the better I am at the prompts and what I'm asking AI to do. So the first time that I was using it, I was very vague, for example. Like if I wanted it to help me with certain stuff, I would be very vague in the instructions. Whereas now I know that the best use case and the best way that I'm going to get the most out of AI and what I'm asking of AI is the different prompts. So would you agree that you need to really get familiar, really embed yourself and try? You don't know before you try these things, and get out there and test AI to do different things and test different prompts to see what the outcome is.
Oh, absolutely. This is a whole new way of doing discovery and research, or improving our baseline knowledge, right? Like Google was foundationally one of the most useful tools in the expansion of knowledge for humanity. I mean, they're not going to win any awards for that, but they were able to process so much information at such a fast pace that it allowed any human being who wanted to know about anything to get some baseline knowledge about it. So it is foundationally one of the most useful tools in educating humanity and making humanity more impactful. Now, the problem is that as a human, you need to know how to use it, and that doesn't always work as intended. That is why there are so many SEOs all over this planet, because our goal is to connect certain consumers or certain decision makers or certain users or humans with our products, solutions, services, whatever it is. And so that's why we exist, to do this for SEO. This same thing is going to happen in AI search, or AI discovery, as I like to call it. And the reason I use discovery and not search is because search is so bilateral. It is, you put word in, you get result back. You put another word in, you get different results back. You put a third word in, you get more results back, right? And this is very bilateral in its nature. But with AI, it's going to be wildly different. In fact, I think one of the most interesting things about your question, Sarah, is that prompts in and of themselves will become better, not just because you will be better at prompts, but because all the prompts that exist in the world will make your prompt better. Right? So there will be an automation to prompting that will occur soon enough, and it will allow you to become very judicious about how you go about that process, because it, just like suggested search in Google, where you type in a word and it's already guessing what the next word is or how you're supposed to search for that term, prompts will become incredibly more refined, both from the personalization perspective. So me as a human, what I want, right? But also from a utility perspective, like the best way to get to this particular outcome is through this form of prompting.
Definitely. And another question that has come into my brain is, we've spoken about AI strengths and where AI can really help us in our industry or in our day-to-day jobs. What do you think is lacking when it comes to AI? So what can't AI do as well as us humans can do?
The number one thing that nobody talks about, or at least it's very limited in its discussion today, and partly is that as humans we're just blinded by the utility of AI, right? Oh my gosh, this thing made my email better. Holy cow, this thing wrote my code better. Oh, this, I didn't even have to search in Google for this Excel formula. It just figured it out for me. All these fun things that like are basically routine behaviors are becoming much more efficient for us to do as humans. So we're very much blinded by that. We're very much distracted by that. The one thing AI cannot do is it cannot be creative. There's no creativity, there's no uniqueness in AI because it is trained, it is taught to live in an ecosystem of things that have already existed. So it already exists if it is giving you a response off of that prompt, right? Oh, you could go and type into ChatGPT or Perplexity, give me 10 creative ideas for my vacation to Costa Rica. Sure, you could do that. None of them are creative. They all exist on the web somewhere. That is not creativity. That is creativity is you showing up to Costa Rica and making your own adventure and doing something that no one else has done before in Costa Rica. That is creativity. Creativity is not getting a list back that already exists on TripAdvisor. I'm sorry. I think there's a big falsehood of like what is creativity and what it is not. However, AI can't do that today, right? The next phase of AI, we're in a process. This is a journey, right? And I don't know when this will happen. Maybe my kids will experience it. I may or may not. I don't know. But we are in generative artificial intelligence. And generative artificial intelligence is the ability to train off of all existing data and information to provide you with a response. I mean, I'm overgeneralizing the description of what it is, but that is generally what it is. Super generative intelligence is actually the ability to come up with things. It is the ability to define things without the data or knowledge or information, right? It is training off of the ability to be creative. That is what super generative intelligence will be, right? So it would be the ability to have a robot in your house and ask it, can you please make me avocado toast, but can you do it in a unique way that no one has ever had before, right? And it will find or try or behave and look at all your ingredients, and it'll find, as much nutmeg and random, chutney type products in your house and make you some really weird avocado toast. That will be super generative intelligence. But today, if you ask AI to make you a really unique and special avocado toast, it can only give you existing recipes and existing formulas of avocado toast. So it'll throw some sesame seeds on there, but I promise you that sesame seeds is an ingredient that is used on a recipe somewhere on the web for avocado toast.
You've got my brain thinking now, because obviously whenever you are creating content or you're putting something together for your website or you're putting together an article, blog, whatever that content is, I think a good strength of AI is understanding what is already known, what is already out there, what is already out there on the internet, but you can also use it to identify the gaps, or for you to think, okay, this is what already exists, but from my knowledge, experience, did I just merge two words together? I think I just did that. AI would be able to do that, would they?
Let's add it to the dictionary.
I've just
Exactly.
I
AI would not be able to merge two words together.
and
That
make
is
it
correct.
sound believable. I've just derailed
No, just
myself.
kidding.
But what was my
Right,
point?
right,
So
right.
yeah, but that's
Yeah,
where you can draw on your experience, your knowledge, your expertise to be
right.
like, this is what's already known. This is the content that's already out there. But actually, there is this whole other area that's not been explored, and I'm going to do it from my point of view. So taking your example of going to AI, LLMs to come up with ideas for your holiday, what you should, where you should go, where you should visit. That would be great. But then what is lacking and where you could fill that gap is then sharing your experiences and having a review. So you could say, okay, I've reviewed these top 10 things to do in Rome, and here's my experience of it. And that's where you can be like, the weather impacted, there was a massive queue. This isn't great if you've got accessibility needs. So there's a whole untouched area that you can get involved with, because AI, as it is now, it's still going to lack creativity, but it also doesn't know what it doesn't know. AI isn't out there going to Rome having these experiences itself. It is basing its ideas and its knowledge from what it can find out there on the internet.
Correct. That's exactly right. And I think that's the uniqueness of where we're at today with AI, is that it is a byproduct of what it already knows, right? And so you, as a human driver of it, need to be able to still add the human aspect to whatever it is you're trying to do. May it be an email, may it be how you integrate that code into your site or your product, or even broadly how you use it to do something in your life, like a trip or an adventure, right? So these are all the things that are the distinctive nature of us as humans, or what I like to call creativity, and its application to our use in AI.
And hopefully having that conversation and bringing that bit to light, it makes it less daunting and scary, because of course, like, it's never gonna, AI can't replace humans, because also, at the end of the day, humans need to be able to connect with one another. We're social beings as well. I mean, I know that's a whole different conversation and a whole different kettle of fish. But there's another area of why, like, we should embrace AI and actually don't push it to the side, don't ignore it, because you could be using it to speed up your process. And there might be jobs or tasks that you do day in, day out that you really hate and you really think is monotonous. And all you need to learn to know how to do is how to get AI to do that, because then that frees you up with the creativity, that frees you up to work on strategy or work on the relationship building, that area of your business. So yeah, we need to be embracing AI because it helps us get better at our jobs. And we've already said that it helps you be more desirable when it comes to employment. But anytime that we're working on our own skills and we're adding like our own experience, or we're learning new things, that's only good for us as well, for our own well-being and our own personal development, right?
That's right. 100% is part of our own capabilities, not just as an SEO or content marketing industry. It is going to be used in all aspects of our lives, right? We've used both professional and personal applications here, right? So our skill sets will evolve. The types of skill sets we're going to need, 6-12 months from now, are going to be different than the ones we have today. How we apply them in our businesses, in our lives, will largely be dependent on how we refine those skills. Like there are going to be some people that are just really, really, really good at using AI to reduce process overhead, right? That was the first example of where we can really use AI more effectively. And some people might be really, really good at that because they're just naturally gifted at reducing process overhead. And then other people like myself aren't as good at that, right? I'm not good. I am a sucker for torture, and I will keep doing the same thing over and over again, even though I could use AI to do that like 10 times faster. And that's my weakness. I got to get better at that, right? And those are the evolutionary skills and characteristics that we're all going to have to define for ourselves and then apply AI into it.
And there's a lot that is habitual. So obviously, so personally myself, I've been working in SEO since 2012, so over 10 years. So obviously there's going to be things that I do that are very habitual. I do it because they're out of habit, and it's breaking that habit and actually being like, hang on, just because I'm doing this way now, it doesn't mean that necessarily this is the best way of doing it. And you've just got to break that cycle and get into the thought process of, actually, I can do this in a much more efficient way. And if I'm working more efficiently, from a freelance perspective, my clients are going to be happy because I'll be able to do more and give them more of my time that's not eaten up in the monotonous day-to-day time resource heavy things that you have to do. So you've
That's right.
convinced me, Jordan. You've convinced me, and I'm sure you've convinced our listeners too. This is a special sponsored section, and I have the wonderful Jordan Koene from Previsible talking to me about their new offering called LLM Content Experimentation. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, Sarah.
So, I'm very intrigued by the title. Tell me more about LLM Content Experimentation.
Well, there's so many questions around what's happening in LLMs. Where do I show up? How often do I show up? Is my brand being represented correctly? And what we've defined is an experimentation path to better understand how LLMs are processing your content to showcase in certain prompt responses. And that's the general idea behind this. It helps brands better understand what's happening with their branded prompts. It helps consumer or informational companies better understand when and how often they show up. And ultimately, we're trying to unpack that for our clients and for marketers at large.
Lovely stuff. And who is this for?
It can be for anyone who has some traction already with LLMs. So if you're already seeing some LLM-based traffic, ChatGPT, Perplexity, the like of these companies, you're a great candidate to try to understand if you can unlock more traffic from these sources, as well as organizations, marketing organizations that are trying to better provide data to leadership, to stakeholders around how LLMs are showcasing your company. This offering gives you two utilities. One is where traffic and how traffic can be changed or improved or expanded. And secondly, what's happening? Where is my brand showing up? Where are my product solution services showing up in these LLMs? And can I better understand that footprint or that competitive landscape?
How can people sign up? So, if we've got some of our audience members listening, like, oh, I need a bit of this, I am sold. Sign me up to LLM content experimentation. How do they do that?
Well, there's a lot of questions than there are answers right now in offerings like this. So, candidly, we ask that you schedule a consultation with our team. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes to understand what kind of product offering website you have. And then based on the type of content you currently produce, we can better provide you details on pricing, timeline, and all of those details. But you can find more information on our website, previsible.io. And we have a specific landing page for this that you can also see, which is AI-marketing. So it's previsible.io/AI-marketing. And you can find out more information about the offerings and some standard packaging within that page.
I will also make sure that all of those links are also in the show notes. So then it's super easy for people to go and check that out, go and schedule a consultation because, yeah, this sounds like a wonderful, wonderful offering. So make sure that you snap this up. Is there anything else you want to say, Jordan?
I encourage you also to check out our site in general. We take a very human approach to SEO. So if you're interested in learning more about our team, our people, our culture, check out our site and feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you very much for joining me for this special sponsored section, Jordan.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it.
I'm very sorry, but time is just flying. It is flying. And unfortunately, technically we've ran out of time, but there are some questions that I want
Sure.
to squeeze in, and we'll just have to get you back on another episode, won't we?
Sure. Love to be back.
Now, this might be a bit, because obviously we've covered quite a lot and it's been a quite big conversation. But if you was to sum up the main takeaway from this episode, what would that be?
The first one is embrace the change in discovery, right? That is the number one thing that we can all do as marketing, technology, business professionals is embrace the change in discovery. Consumers are going to be going to different places to find and ease their friction in identifying, connecting with, or understanding information at a much faster and much clearer way through LLM and AI applications. So that's number one. Number two, focus on your skills that can improve process and really execute process more efficiently through the utility of AI. B, can you actually incorporate your data? Can you actually incorporate your knowledge centers or other assets that you have to make data more useful? And then lastly, don't forget that creativity is at the center of humanity. And so that is your number one asset. That's the number one thing that you have that nobody else has. And if you use AI, the one aspect that it won't be able to figure out is that creative application. So don't forget that it matters to any industry, all industries, and that is the number one thing that it cannot replace. And until it can, you should leverage that capability at its full to your full advantage.
Best career advice?
Build community. I grew in SEO not because I was smarter than everybody else or I got a fancy degree in SEO, which doesn't exist, by the way. I got this where I did in SEO because of the community around me, the mentors I had, the coworkers I had, the events that I met random people at. So build community, and it's easy to say that, and it's hard to do. The beauty of where we are right now, though, is that you can build community in a lot of different ways. You can do it through Slack channels. You can do it through physically being at industry events. You can do it just in your own company and talking to people who have a curiosity about SEO and AI and what have you. So build community is the number one thing that you can do to grow your career and grow your capabilities in SEO.
Yeah, I love that because because with this sense of community and the people around you, you have a safe space to ask questions, to share experiences, get people's feedback on certain things. So, and that's another thing. I think once you've got a solid and a safe community around you, asking questions isn't scary. And actually, you want to ask questions because you want
That's right.
to vibe and thrive from each other.
100%. That's exactly right.
Nice. Okay. And then the last question. Now, this is going to be tricky because there's a lot of people, lots of fabulous people in the SEO industry. It doesn't necessarily have to be SEO either. But I want you to nominate one person. So, who should our listeners, myself, be following and why?
I'm gonna nominate Noah Lerner. He is the founder of the SEO community on Slack, and I think the work that he's doing to enable our industry, and just his story in general is so remarkable. It's a testament to what this industry is all about. That we can have people of all different walks, backgrounds, skill sets, and you can learn this craft, you can learn this industry and have such a remarkable impact on it. Whether you're a technical person, a creative person, a content person, it doesn't matter. You can have an impact on the SEO industry, and Noah is a testament to that. And if you haven't checked out the SEO community on Slack, you should. I think what he's doing there is remarkable in terms of, again, building another channel by which we can build community and connect with one another.
Amazing stuff. I will make sure links to the SEO community are in the show notes so people can go and check that out. It's funny that you said this because that person in that community came up in a conversation that I had with a SEO last week. So yeah, obviously doing the rounds, people are
That's
using
right.
that community. So that's good. Lovely stuff. Well, Jordan, that is it. That is time. Now, what I'll make sure is when this episode goes live, there will be your bio, and we'll make sure that we've got all your social and your website links. But is there any particular platform that you want to signpost people to?
Sure. My LinkedIn profile, I think, is the best place. Feel free to reach out, ask questions, or just connect and follow. Happy to connect through that social platform.
LinkedIn is also my safe space as well. I mean, other social platforms scare me.
Yes. Some of them are very scary these days.
Some are very
Try
scary.
to keep the kids off of it.
touch wood, LinkedIn remains safe because it feels like a safe community there in LinkedIn. But yeah, we'll make sure that LinkedIn is there. And yes, the only thing left for me to say is that if you enjoy what me and Tazmin are doing with the podcast, you can support us in lots of different ways. What I'm going to ask you to do is make sure that you are following our podcast. So wherever you listen to our podcast, please make sure that you follow our podcast so then you get notified whenever a new episode goes live. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can also give us a review because we're SEOs. We know how algorithms work. It's the same in the podcasting space. And yeah, we are also set up on Buy Me a Coffee. So if you want to give us a one-off donation, you can give us a virtual coffee. So the links to both of those things are in the show notes. And that is it. So thank you once again for Jordan for coming on, sharing his knowledge and making AI a little less scary. I feel a lot more ready to embrace AI. So thank you. It's been a really good conversation. And yeah, enjoy this episode and take care of yourself until next time. Today's episode is brought to you by Previsible, your partner in scalable SEO growth. From consulting to recruiting and AI search optimization, Previsible's solutions are built for brands looking to lead in search. Discover what a strategy-first approach can do for your visibility. Learn more at previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes and start seeing results that last. Don't forget about that live podcast happening the night before Brighton SEO, which is all about personal brand. Yep, the SEO Mindset and Search with Candour podcasts are teaming up again. It's happening Wednesday the 9th of April 2025 from 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes. It's free to attend and there'll be free pizza, snacks and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, work colleagues, anyone and everyone. Help us shout it from the rooftops. It was a sellout last time. So to avoid that horrible FOMO feeling, grab your ticket today to secure your spot. Head on over to the show notes for the link and we look forward to seeing you on the night. Looking to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance growth for your business, organization, or yourself? Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media and marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. You can find them on all social media platforms and online at cnmediaa.com or follow the link in the show notes.